Welcome to the Digital Nomad Experts Podcast by Beach Commute. Today we've got Jeff and Marissa, and we're gonna bring back an old favorite, rapid fire questions from the audience. So you send in questions through our email, and we also get a lot of questions through the comments on our Spotify. And also, Marissa, I think it was holding a whole bunch of them back in Anchor. I found a ton of them yesterday.
Oh, really?
So I'm sorry to everybody that we didn't get to, but all of a sudden a flood of comments popped in on our Spotify comments section. So yeah, sorry about that. I've responded to as many as I can. I'm going to blame it all on Anchor and Spotify. It's not our fault. But regardless, we get a lot of good questions through there. We get a lot through our email. And we like to ask each other these questions and put each other on the spot. So there's no rehearsal behind them. It's just a surprise question, and you have to answer it the best that you can. So we're going to do that today. We've got 7 for you. And Marissa, do you want to start off with the first question?
Yeah, I will ask you. So again, these are sight unseen, and Jeff and I's rule for these questions, these podcasts is whatever our first instinct is, that's what we're going to share with you. So there's no overthinking it. We always believe that instinct is what you need to hear today. So that's where we're at. All right, Jeff. So first question I've got for you is, what's the most unexpected challenge that you have faced as a digital nomad?
Well, going to the first thing that comes to mind, like we did, I think was probably health issues. And it's something that I didn't really think about before becoming a digital nomad. I know a lot of people do think about that. And it's one of the reasons some people might get a little bit apprehensive of starting this lifestyle. But for me, that wasn't a thing. I didn't even consider it, just didn't even plan for it. And then, as I've talked about on this podcast before, I've had multiple things. I went in and I had 3 things at once one time. I had this tooth problem. It's I don't know what it was, maybe like a cracked tooth, or it was like a root canal or something. And then I pulled my Achilles, and I also got diagnosed with 3 hernias, all within
3 hernias?
2 weeks or something. Yeah, I had one on either side and one in the belly button.
I didn't even know you could have multiple ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know much
I could have
about
had
hernias.
more if I wanted.
Remind us, what's a hernia? I've asked you this before, but it's still a mystery to me.
You have a lining in your stomach in between your organs and your skin tissue, not like your abs, which are the core muscles. It's just kind of like fascia. And if that has a little tear in it, you can start to have problems. It's like a tear in the fascia.
Always in your stomach area?
You can have it in close to your pelvis, like your lower stomach. You can have it in the belly button. It's usually in the lower tummy area where you get those kind of things. A lot more common with men than women.
And it's tearing of fascia.
And yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's just the lining between your organs and your skin, which obviously sounds really, really bad, but you can live with these things for a long time, and a lot of people do, but you run the risk of complications down the road. Either way, a little bit more common in men than women. You can get it from lifting things improperly. You can get it from overexertion, just all kinds of stuff. I actually had one when I was a baby.
What?
I had to have surgery on it. So I'm just collecting hernias. I've got a collection of 4 of them over a lifetime.
Collection. Not to be confused with the time that you sneezed and did something weird to your rib in Bolivia. And also maybe that felt similar.
Yeah, that was right before I left for Bolivia. I don't even know how that happened, but I sneezed so hard that I felt something rip in my chest. It was in my lower rib. And I think it was the muscles in between your ribs. I must have tweaked it or something. But God, that was brutal. I couldn't even laugh. You remember you guys were making me laugh?
Yes, we would purposely make you laugh. You're in pain.
Yeah, I've had some weird injuries.
You have. So the triple whammy was the hardest unexpected challenge that you faced as a digital nomad?
Yeah, it was all at once. And it was, we've talked about the health before. It was also totally easy to sort out. I just had to look up individual doctors to go to that spoke English. But ultimately, it was a lot faster than getting taken care of in the States. I was able to get into each one of them day of or next day, and it was way cheaper. I think I had to get an MRI in Brasov, of all places.
Romania.
Which is in Romania. And I think I got it done next day after I noticed something off, and it was maybe $200 for an MRI, which is insane. In the States, it's
1,000.
After copay, it's your firstborn and your house. Yeah, I got that done. The dental work, I got a crown and a root canal done for 600 euros same day, which is also insane. So it was all sorted out, But I mean, it's not fun. It's really unexpected when that kind of stuff happens and you're like, all right, well, scrambling to get all this stuff taken care of.
All right. That's a good one. That's a lot, but you got it done.
Well, do we do both? I can't remember. It's been so long. Do we
Yeah,
do both?
let's both. We'll both answer both. So I'll share the first thing that came to my mind, then I have like a close second behind. So the gut
Okay.
instinct was I was in Nepal and I was supposed to be flying to Japan. This was about a year and a half ago, I think. And my grandmother passed away while I was in Nepal and like heading to Japan. So it was just a tough decision. I was trying to figure out, it had been sort of like a long time coming and I had been home for a long time and her life just sort of kept being prolonged. And so I was on the road again, not knowing if it would happen, weeks, months, years from then. So you just kind of go, you go on with your life. But it was a hard decision because I was trying to figure out whether or not to fly back. She was in California, the funeral was in California. And I know my parents were like, you don't have to fly halfway across the world. It's just, it was a small thing, which is my family. But in the moment, I was really surprised. I really just wanted to be there for my mom, especially it was her mom. And I made a last minute decision to book a flight. And I flew, I don't know, over 24 hours, however many hours it took to fly from Nepal, from where I was in Kathmandu, to fly to Los Angeles and then drive to Palm Springs, where she was, which is another 2.5 hour drive. And whatever time, I want to say the funeral, call it, started at 2:00. I literally walked in with a rolling suitcase at 1:55, like
Oh,
to the
geez.
minute, like nothing could go wrong. I had a layover in
Yeah.
Japan, I think. So it was just one of those moments where it was a big decision to figure out what to do. I was halfway across the world. I wanted to be there for my family. I didn't even know, once I decided I wanted to go, I didn't even know if I would be able to literally logistically make it in time. And it was down to like minutes, which was wild. And my mom is part of it, but she's one of 5 kids. There's a big family. And it just felt important to be there with all of my cousins and my aunts and uncles. And I was really glad that I went. But it's, people often ask us as nomads, like, what do you do if you miss big moments or, there's things happen while you're away? So I can say you can always go home. You can always go back. And in this case, it was tricky because it was like, can I even get home? I was so far away.
Across the world.
Yeah.
You're on the other side of the world.
And the timing
Yeah.
worked well because had it been any days earlier, I was like in the middle of the nowhere trekking in the mountains where I would have had to hike back, take like a little flight from this, small town back to the city. Like I might not have even been able to get there had I wanted to. So again, it was just, it's doable. But I look back at that was the first instinct that came to mind, since I guess I'll go with that one. It was a tricky one. But I think now, as I look at it, the challenging thing I face as a digital nomad is now figuring out like how to have a home base and like feel like I have a home again when I want a home in 10 different places. So it's like my latest challenge. But yeah, I'll go with Nepal with
You
my
gotta start
grandmother.
buying houses and get every one of your favorite
I think that's
locations.
the
That's the
move.
obvious
That's
answer.
the move. That's what we're going for. So I'm there. So that's number one. Yeah. So I think that makes sense to look at both ways. If I think more, it's like other illnesses and breakups or other things, where you're abroad or halfway across the world. But it's, it makes sense for us that it was like a sickness and death. And like, those are the things that I think hold a lot of people back from living nomad life, but they're manageable. They're doable. It may not be as convenient as just living in your home and playing it safe. But to me, again, looking at all the experiences that we've had of all the things I do go right, and those are like little, minor things in all the many years we've been nomad. To me, it's always still worth it.
Yeah, it's when you travel long enough, life's gonna happen. Normal life stuff's gonna happen while you're traveling, and you just kind of have to roll with it. It's just can be a little bit more complicated. So, okay, number 2 comes to you, Marissa. How do you stay connected with friends and family back at home while you're traveling?
Oh, that's a big one. I feel like I weirdly stay more connected to travel friends than when I'm elsewhere. No, I love my friends and family back home. I would say I don't always like chat on the phone with I think that the answer would normally be like, oh, you just like hop on the phone and make sure you keep up with people. I'm a texter when I'm away. My parents joke, my mom especially, she'll always say, like, will you just send me emoji when you like, even if it's just like once a day, or like when you get to if I know you're traveling, when you get to a new location, just like send me emoji. It's like a proof of life. She just wants proof of life, and I never do it. And she's like, Marissa, please, like, are you alive?
Same. I'm so guilty of the exact
I'm
same
sorry,
thing.
parents. I'm sorry. And it's funny because when I'm back home, I see them a ton and I talk to them way more. When I'm gone, I'm just sort of like, okay, bye. So I don't mean it. I'm a bad daughter sometimes, but I would say for me, the answer is through text. I feel like I text with my parents a lot. I will FaceTime with my niece and nephew sometimes. I text with my brother. And then my friends back home, I feel like it's also through just kind of like text message, things that remind me of people. I send them pictures or memories or gifts, or I love a good like sending Instagram reels to friends that I know it seems silly, but that resonate. And it's just sort of like keeping these touch points. And for me, I've had like my friends back home, they're all people who I've known now for honestly, a lot of them 30 years, many 20 years. It's like deep rooted friends. And what's so really lucky for me as a nomad is I'm from Atlanta. A lot of us moved to New York and lived there like all together, or everyone who moved away, like I would say 98% of my friends moved back to Atlanta and they're still friends with each other. So it's nice as when I go home, I can slot right back in. It's like, oh, we're all having Sunday night dinner. Like I get to show up now. And if I'm gone, they're all still hanging. So I feel like I have the type of friends where if I don't see them or I don't talk to them for 3, 4 months and I come home, it's just so normal to just slide right back in and see them. And there's no time lost. There's no bad blood. It's just sort of like, I'm gone, I'm gone. And when I'm there, I'm there. And it's so fun to be back and see them when I am there. So I would say, I guess, in short, I don't always keep in touch the best in terms of like, I don't know, every now and then with some friends, I'll chat on the phone and have those long conversations. My travel friends, I'm better because we do voice, like I just leave long voice notes and it's very asynchronous, which I love. So I'm going with text message or I just don't and I see them when I'm home and it's the same. Or they'll come visit me places. I have that as well. So yeah, I just had some of my high school friends here in Costa Rica with me, which was fun.
You're a lot better about that than I am, for
Keeping in
sure.
touch or seeing friends.
With the situation, traveling in touch with friends, like no matter traveling or not, I've always been really bad with out of sight, out of
Yeah.
mind type of thing. I'm very, very involved with the people that I'm near and with regularly, very present with that. But once I'm gone, I am so, so bad at keeping in touch with people. And I recognize that because my friends will do that. Like, hey, how you been? I'm like, fuck, I should have done that. Why don't I do that? And I'm very much the same when I'm on the road. Like I'll do the occasional text or something, but I'm so kind of caught up in where I'm
Mhm.
traveling that I'm just not good at that. You know what? I think Diego is kind of the same way. You remember I think he mentioned that before too. He just forgets to miss people. He's because he gets so immersed in where he's
Yeah.
at that he does miss them, but he's just not consciously
Yeah, so just like
thinking about
living
it.
in the present. I've been more and more, I feel like you and Diego lately, where it's just if I think it, I mean, there's pros and cons to both. It's like you're living so in the present
Yeah.
where you are that you're with the people you're with and your energy's there, the conversations are there. And then when you
Mhm.
get back to those other people, you're like, oh, this is nice too. Like I did miss you, but I was living there, you know? So it's kind
Mhm.
of finding that balance of living in the present of where you are and also just making sure I think to keep those relationships alive. But I do think like the best of friends and the best of people, sometimes it's still nice to have those touch points or catch ups if you go a really long time. But the type of friends or family that when you see them, it's like no time lost. And to me, that is kind of a hallmark of a really great relationship. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I don't have to speak to you every day to be your best friend. You know, we might, or we might, maybe you're going through something hard and I'll talk to you then. Like I'm there. I think now that I'm speaking out loud for my friends, it's like they know I'm there. If they need me, you can call me, right? If you
Mhm.
need me, I am there, but it doesn't mean we'll necessarily be talking every single day. But if you're with me in person, I'm gonna see you every day. So yeah.
Those are my friends too, and I think over time, it's turned into that just by the nature of how I am when I'm not around them, so only those people are the ones that stayed. The needier types of friends I've never really jived with anyways, so fortunately, what I've got is the same type of friend. We're just like, yeah, loyal no matter what. You might not hear from me in 9 months, but if you say, "Hey, I need you in Taiwan," I'm like, "Okay, I'm getting on a plane now,"
Right.
kind of thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. I think that does a good answer of that one. Okay, so number three, I think we're number three is this is an important logistical one. What's your, so this is your personal strategy for finding reliable Wi-Fi in remote places?
First thing would be when I get the Airbnb, getting the speed test. It's for me, it's just as important as how good the accommodations look. I just won't book a place unless it's up to snuff in that category.
And
Period.
can you explain to someone listening
Um,
how you do that? You're, I'm assuming you're saying before you get there, you check it out.
I'll expand on that a little bit. So as I'm going through Airbnb listings that I'm interested in, first, I'm going to go through and read the descriptions. Sometimes they will include details on how fast the internet is. And a decent rule of thumb is if you're on a lot of video calls, you're probably going to want at least 10 megabits per second download. I mean, ideally, you'd want to see it 20 and up. Perfect case scenario, it's like 100, but you're going to need that if you're on a lot of videos. And there's nothing more stressful than you get into a place, you're like, oh my God, locked in for a month. This has happened to me before. Get locked in for a month and you can't have calls. And especially if you're working for a company, that's just, and if you're early on in your digital nomad journey, that's really, really not good. So it really is such an important question that we're answering here. So read through the descriptions. Sometimes also on Airbnbs in the photos, they'll take a screenshot of the speed test too. There's a lot of tools you can use. Speedtest.net, I think, is probably the most popular one. If they include a screenshot of that, that's great. If they've got nothing, I'll message the host and say, hey, after my negotiation period, hey, I want to rent this for less money than you've got listed. I'll also move on to give me a screenshot of a speed test. And I want like a live that day screen test, not something that was taken 6 months ago, not their word for it. I want actual proof of speed. So that's pretty much 95% of it. If we're going somewhere where it's going to be a little dodgy, sometimes going to beaches, it would be a little dodgy. My backup plan would be trying to find like a really good Selena or co-working space. If those are available, I know I've got a decent backup, but those two usually are totally fine for me. Usually I'm able to find some sort of good working environment if I've locked those two down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in talking with you pretty much do the same kind of strategy, but also mixing in like a MiFi device sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
I will add to, if I were to answer this question, I would say exactly what Jeff did as well. Make sure the internet. I feel like they're doing a better job of including that in Airbnb descriptions now. But if you're going to a place that you like, I remember going to Guatemala, for example, or to Nigeria, for example, and we're like, you need to show me proof, because there's other places. If you go to like Playa del Carmen or to Bali or other places, you're going to assume it's more reliable. So you can just ask the host if you're not sure, and typically that's good enough. But if you're going to places where it's not great, then I really do go that extra step to ask for like, can you go to the house today? Take a screenshot and
Mhm.
show me. It's like proof of life. So I do the exact same thing that you do, just to make sure the accommodations do. So yeah, I would say, just to add on, if I were to answer as a backup, what I do is always have either an eSIM. So I use Airalo, AIRALO, as an eSIM. For my phone doesn't even have physical SIM cards now. So if you had asked me like a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd be like,
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good point. Okay, mine doesn't either. Maybe expand on that a little bit more
I
detail
will. Yeah.
for me
Yeah,
and
for Jeff,
yeah.
teaching Jeff good these days. Yeah, so the new iPhones, if you get them in the US, other countries, I'm told, still do have like a physical place for SIM cards. But like 2 years ago, wherever I went, I would get a local SIM card from, you go to kind of like a gas station or in the airport, those little stands, you buy a physical SIM card for the local country that you're in. So that way, if your power goes out, if the Wi-Fi, just like in Nigeria, I exclusively used a SIM card and tethered from my phone for the entire month, because they told us that there was Wi-Fi and it was literally non-existent pretty much almost anywhere in the
Mhm.
country. That was a lot of years ago. That was back in 2019. So you can get a local SIM card and tether your phone. Basically, you're using your phone as the device. Again, if you'd asked me 7 years ago, 8 years ago when we first started, I had a little MiFi device because phones didn't work as a hotspot in the same way. So we've really improved. It's getting easier and easier and easier to be a nomad. So now my phone doesn't even have a spot for a physical SIM card, but I use, again, it was called Airlo. Maybe we can leave a little link for that, but it's AIRALO, Airlo. That's the company I use for eSIMs. And so basically I have two eSIMs at all times. So I keep my US cell phone number and I just turn data roaming off, and then I'll use an eSIM. If my phone now works, they just expanded to like 24 countries in Latin America. So my AT&T plan in the US works exactly as it does here in Costa Rica for free, which is the first time I've been here with that, which is really cool. So I just feel like it's going to expand more globally and become easier to use your phone for free anywhere. But what you can do is on Airlo, get an eSIM. You can do them either globally or for a certain country that you're in, and it just connects to the most local network. So if your power goes out, if your Wi-Fi is not working, you're paying for data. So, but it's like in those clutch situations where you're like, oh my God, I have to hop on this video call, or my power went out in the middle of a call. And I'm, need to be present for a work call. I tether from my phone from a hotspot to my computer using a local SIM card. So if I sound like I'm talking gibberish, just know that it's possible. When I first left to go travel, I didn't even know what a SIM card was. And a friend of mine literally showed, she's like, come, Marissa, I will take you to a place. I will show you where to go. I was so grateful. So if I'm speaking gibberish to you, don't worry. Just know that it's possible. And that's what I use as kind of like that extra backup after ensuring. Just because you never know, you're in places where storms and powers go out, or I don't know, something else. So there's that. And then I'll also find, if I'm in a city or other places, I'll know the places around me that have cafes that are if I really needed to go take a call somewhere and has a generator or has power, or just a good alternative that feels more sturdy. I make sure I know kind of places around for that as well.
Kit? Or is that still a stationary?
I was just talking to our friend Jim about that. He says they're much smaller now. So it used to be the size, I feel of a briefcase, a small suitcase. So almost the really intense. I feel I knew one digital nomad out of 1,000 who carried that, who was just I think also just kind of wanted to be on the trends and be anywhere. Now my understanding, I don't know anyone who personally has the smaller one, but it is much smaller and easier to carry. So if you're someone who's wants to be extra sure, Starlink, buying that personal Starlink, and I think it's an extra monthly subscription, probably a couple $100 after you per month. I don't know exactly what it costs after you buy it. But I think, what's so exciting about nomad life, I mean, for better or for worse, how connected we are, I would imagine, 2 years from now, we're going to all have these tiny little Starlink things, or it's just going to be better everywhere. And this is not even going to be a conversation. You're just going to be connected, literally almost anywhere you go. But as of right now, in this moment, in 2024, as we were recording this episode, I would say, talk to your Airbnb host to make sure that, or research a hotel wherever you're staying, and then just get an eSIM from Airlo as your backup in case something goes wrong there. And in the future, I imagine Starlink will be everywhere, and phones will just work everywhere.
Okay. And it is getting better and better. I remember locations just PV in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a phone call out back when I first traveled there 8-9 years ago. And now Diego's having chapters there.
Yeah. And Puerto Escondido?
Working fully remote.
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
PV,
Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica.
There's so many.
No. Puerto Viejo.
Too many abbreviations.
Puerto Viejo, the other side.
Costa Rica. My mind was in Mexico.
Bocas.
Yes. Yeah, Bocas del Toro used to be a hard one. I was staying at Selena there solely because it was the only place I could get Wi-Fi, and it was still barely getting in on this tiny little island.
Yeah, these little, tiny little water Rastafarian towns, it wasn't. But now it's every year.
And even where I am in Costa Rica, I first came here in 2010, 2011-ish. And I remember this was before I was working remotely, but I used to have to stand on a wall and hold my phone up to so for somewhere from the roof, I could it would just download emails.
Oh,
and now they have 100, megs. So it's everywhere's getting so much better. It's so much easier.
All right. Next question coming to you. How do you handle working with clients or teams in different time zones?
Oh, this is a fun one. It really depends if you have to either everyone just conforms to the same time zone. So we have a lot of friends who work as an employee for a company that's, let's say they're working Eastern US time zone. No matter where that person is, they will work that time zone. So if they're in Europe, they're probably working 3 p.m. in the afternoon to kind of 10 p.m. to stick with that Eastern time. I've lived in Mauritius where people were working, I feel they started working around 7 p.m. and would work till midnight or 2 in the morning. What else? Yeah, wherever they are, they were just sort of one way to do it is everyone just stays on the same hours, no matter what time zone you're on. If you have a more asynchronous company, so here at Beach Commute, we don't like that. We want to be working wherever we are, whatever hours. So there was a time, I'll say, I guess this is to us personally, but there was a time where Diego was in Bali for 3-4 months. I was at one of those points back in Atlanta, so I was kind of New York Eastern time, and then you were bopping around, and then went back to at one point you were in California on Pacific time. And that was so hard. I think we would basically we just tried to do is
no overlap hours.
No overlap. So
None.
We would try to work as much as we could on our own like on our own work, on our own time, we would communicate. The three of us use WhatsApp a lot just to kind of like voice notes, stay in touch, send things, maybe Loom videos, something where I might have a call with Diego. I was like, here's a video. I'll get it the next morning. He'll respond the next night. Like it's slow to respond sometimes. And then once a week we would try to have a call all together. And it was like 10 p.m. for Diego. It was like 7 a.m. for you and I think 10 a.m. for me. So again, with that, I will say it really depends if you're having to, I'd say option A is just everyone kind of conforms the same overlapping hours of the time zone you all, or like whatever those working hours you agree to and whatever time zone that company is based. And then if it's more asynchronous, you just find creative ways. Like I love that we do that. There's sometimes, if we're on the same time zones, we get to talk more, we move a little faster. And sometimes if we're, times apart, it's more voice notes and Loom videos and WhatsApp text. And we just try to find those overlapping hours and agree to the times. We're like, all right, this is the hours that do work for all of us today. And we'll hop on a call then and move forward accordingly. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, I'd love your opinion on it.
I think async tools are just amazing
Yeah.
at this point. What a time to be alive. I mean, with
What a
Loom,
time to be
oh
alive.
my God.
That's LOOM for someone listening.
Yeah, you send a video Loom.
And you're sharing your screen to explain to someone what it is. Can I quickly explain? Then I want you to keep going. It's a great, we are not affiliate at all, but Loom, we should. We love this tool. Come get us. Thank you. So Loom is it's just a little extension on your browser. It's on your desktop as well. You just click and you can record like your whole computer or your screen or a certain tab. And basically it's like you're like the little circular face on the screen that you can also move around so it's not in the way. And so you're there. It's like your little circle face talking. So it still feels really personalized. And then also you can share your screen. So if I'm giving feedback, let's say Jeff and I are working on improving a website or something, instead of just leaving a voice note and being like, oh, I don't like this font or this color or this thing, I can show my screen and my arrow. And I'm like, okay, I want to move this to the right. This looks good. So it just is, like we use it all the time. We have a great employee who works in Egypt who Jeff, I think, has actually never spoken to. Hussein, we love you. Jeff has never spoken because
I've never heard his voice. Hussein, I've never heard your voice.
Jeff wants to hear
Send me
your
a Loom,
voice.
or I'll send
So
you a
I
Loom.
send Loom videos to him. I send voice notes. We send text. So yeah. Anyway, continue on. But yeah, keep going how you were using Loom. I just wanted to explain what it was for someone who had never used it.
Yeah, Loom's probably the best out there. And then you've got all kinds of alternative options. I mean, I think WhatsApp is great because you can do everything. Voice notes, you can do video chats, you can do screenshots, you can reply directly to comments with marked up text. You've got pretty much everything that you need. I remember when I first was working for companies based in the States, I would just have to do overlapping hours for meetings. I mean, when I was in Europe, just work a little bit later in the day. And now doing beach commute stuff, we do everything that we just talked about. Fortunately, right now we're on very similar time zones, so we can connect for the calls when we need to, but when we don't need to, the async tools work perfectly. So it's actually a lot less of an issue than I thought it was going to be when I was first becoming a digital nomad. And I think technology is really enabling it quite a bit at this point.
Amazing. What's next?
I think the next question is from you.
Okay, so next up, Jeff, number 5, what is your favorite destination for combining work and adventure? So not just work, not just adventure, but a destination that is a really good combination, offers both to you.
Okay, I've got 2 answers. First answer is Mexico at large. And I'm going to say Mexico instead of a specific place in Mexico, because there are just so many adventures depending on where you go. And the cool part about Mexico is you got such a variety of everything you could possibly be looking for. If you go to San Jose del Pacifico, it looks exactly like the Northern California redwoods. It's crazy with the mountains. It's cold. It's actually very cold. There's redwood trees all over the place. It's absolutely beautiful. And then if you just drive a few hours away, you've got blazing hot beaches in Puerto Escondido. So your adventures are endless. And then you've got all the historical stuff. You've got the pyramids you can check out. You've got so much stuff to do in Mexico. And at this point, like we were talking about before, most everywhere I've traveled to in Mexico is now at the point where I can be very effective working with regards to internet. It really lacks nothing as like a digital nomad destination, I would think. And then the second obvious answer for me would be Cape Town in South Africa, because the adventures are so close to where you are. You've got great internet. You're going to be living in probably around Cape Town. And then you've got all of these hikes, which are literally 15 to 20 minutes away. So your access to adventures look like I'll just go and do an adventure first thing in the morning and drive 15 minutes to go back and start my workday. So you've got this like amazing combination of the two things that you're looking for.
It's interesting for Cape Town, though. For me personally, I feel like it doesn't bother as many other people, but you've got the rolling blackouts there where for like once or twice a day, sometimes, depending on the time of year, your internet will just shut down. You know when it will be, so you can plan around it or go elsewhere. But I feel like you've got all the blackouts there that make, for me, difficult for like work productivity. No? Is that
Well, you would need, and part of that's a good point. Actually, getting back to one of the first questions we had, you would talk to the Airbnb host to have the power bank set up that automatically shuts or
a
turns
generator?
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a generator and it's also attached to, it's actually plugs into the wall directly into the Wi-Fi device. So it's seamless. Like it just switches over directly into the power bank and it keeps your Wi-Fi going throughout. If I didn't have that, yeah, that definitely wouldn't make the list, and I would have really
It's
struggled to work from
interesting.
there
That's like
at
one
all.
even layered tip that I didn't have when I got there. I had stayed at a place that a bunch of our Nomad
Mhm.
friends had stayed before, and they were like, it has a generator. It's perfect. So, you'll have power when it's on. But what I didn't know was that every time, I guess the Wi-Fi wasn't directly connected, like you're saying. I don't even know how it works. But every time the power would go out for like 2 minutes, everything would go black. My Wi-Fi would cut out, and then it would come back on, which is fine if you're just living there and not working. It's still nice to have light. You can charge all your stuff. But like my calls would cut off for 2 minutes in the middle of a coaching call or in the middle of a podcast.
Mhm.
So yeah, take the extra precaution to, I guess, to make sure like there are no pauses in the internet even. It's like the weird little questions you have to ask.
Yeah, another layer to that I completely forgot about is that you don't know until you get there. You're like, "Oh, okay, this is a big deal."
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you put on your list?
Going back to the question. Okay, so I was like, what was the question? I thought we were talking about Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
Destination
Yeah, for some
combining
reason, can't
work
remember.
and adventure. Mine would be very different answers if you're like, where's someone you would just go to work, where's someone somewhere that just has like the most adventure you can think of. But for me, that sweet spot is also Mexico. And for me personally, it's specifically in Playa del Carmen in Mexico. For a lot of the reasons you said, but for me, Playa is like that perfect mix because the accommodations they just feel really solid for working. You know you're gonna get good Wi-Fi there. It's really reliable. You can get pretty just like clean, I don't know, apartments that feel pretty good to work in, like you like your environment. And when I'm in those apartments, I feel like I'm not necessarily looking out at the ocean in that second and distracted. It's kind of like sometimes it sounds weird. It's like better for work. So I'm just kind of heads down. I can get a lot of work done in Playa. There's also tons of cafes where digital nomads will go and work from. So it's really set up for just like working well. And it has everything you need. So also for work, like if you forget your computer charger, which I have done before, if your laptop breaks or if you need a pair of headphones, like there's just stores in Playa that you can buy things from. So that seems like maybe something you wouldn't think through. But if you're nomading for a long time, that's a concern. So it just is really set up for work in a great way. But then at the same time, a lot of the places, they're those kind of modern apartments. So usually you can go up, 3, 4 flights and just be on like a rooftop pool with a pretty view and chill. You can walk 4 or 5 blocks and you're at the beach, or you can hop on a ferry and go to 3 different islands right from Playa. But one of them has like some of the best scuba diving in the whole world is in Cozumel. And then there's within Playa, there's so many like whatever you are looking for. If you want to be super active, you want to do ayahuasca, you want to be super hippie, you want to do a cacao ceremony, you want to meet up with entrepreneurs, you want to dance, like everything is right there. And then if you want to be a little more adventurous, like over the weekends, you can rent a car, drive to Chichen Itza, to like one of the wonders of the world. You can drive to Holbox, that is Holbox, which is one of my favorite islands in the world that like no one knows about. You can drive to, there's just so many like places you can drive and get to in the Yucatan. You can go to Tulum. There's just so much adventure, but also such great working environment. And on top of that, the time zone is a big one. So I would maybe say Bali if I were, it would be a similar comparable one to me, except it's really hard work-wise often if you're working kind of East Coast or a lot of the people you want to be talking to are more US hours. So Playa is either the same time zone as New York or 1 hour earlier, depending on the time of year and the time change. But it's just very convenient for work, for calls, for Wi-Fi, for life and adventure. So that's my answer.
Give me the 30 seconds on cacao ceremonies. What is that?
What
I'm seeing that more and more. I have no idea what that
I
means.
love that.
Chocolate ceremony?
Chocolate ceremony. So cacao is like, so chocolate, gosh, I'm like not the person to know exactly. I feel like the chocolate that we,
I feel like this is
I mean,
totally
it
you're the
is,
person
it
that
is. So chocolate and the way that we eat it is very like processed and has sugar. Cacao is just like the natural form that you get like from the plant. And then it's like brewed in a certain way with other things. So it's not like, doesn't feel like you're tasting like delicious hot chocolate, but it's like a more bitter taste. It's actually really good. But cacao it's known as a heart opener. So it's like it opens your heart, makes you more open. So you can do these ceremonies. They're traditional, like often kind of Mayan, I think, based. So in Mexico, in that area, it's like real and local to that culture. So if you do a cacao ceremony, you could do it on your own and just, drink cacao or, make it yourself. But if you're doing it in a ceremony, it's just more of like it's like some people do it like around the full moon. It's a ceremony. You can share what you're grateful for. You drink the cacao. It's more about like the community and the people you're doing it with. And then again, it's that, I don't know. And when I say heart opener, does that even make sense to you? Or are you like, what are you talking about?
so what I'm asking you is, do you get high?
Oh no, it's not really. Thank you.
Oh,
I was like, what do you want to know from this? You can just ask that. It's not a high. It's not like a drug. It's not like a plant medicine, like ayahuasca or a combo or anything like that. But it's more of,
mm,
it's just like a subtle, almost as if you were like, think about microdosing. It's almost just like and sometimes like,
okay.
I don't know, personally, when I have it, I've never really felt specifically like any sort of physical changes, but it's still just like a nice ceremony. It feels like a nice ritual. It's like to me, it's nice to do, but it's not something you take and you're like hallucinating and seeing and like having visual.
Okay.
There we go.
Got
I
it.
was like, what do you want to know from this?
No, I'm uninterested.
Uninterested. Next. I love it. Okay. I think you're asking.
Number 6 is for you. Yep. How do you manage to keep a work-life balance while living in vacation-like spots?
Good question. Not always easy. So I can say I am in a vacation spot right now. I am in Las Catalinas in Costa Rica. There's a lot of people here who live full time, but there's also a lot of vacationers, tourists. It's like a small little beach town that people definitely come for vacation. So it can be tricky. I will say as I'm like, I don't know how many years, 8, 9 years into nomad life, I've slowed down a lot and I'm sort of bouncing between like spending most of like part of the year in Costa Rica and maybe part of the year in Atlanta, and I'll still do some travels here and there. I would say like I like to go back to Atlanta because I don't want to, it's not vacation mode. I can just like work, work, work. And I don't care about like, I'll go see friends, I'll go see family, but I'm not like, oh, the outside beauty is calling me. So to me, that's like work focus. So when you're in these more vacation like spots, to me, sometimes it's more of like it's a work-life balance. You're sometimes taking more advantage of that life time of enjoying it. But it really depends on your work schedule. But Jeff, I asked Jeff to push this podcast back an hour because I actually had a call earlier, but it was low tide and that's the only time I can walk on the beach here. So
Approved.
yeah, approved, right? We're living
It's
that
true.
life. I was like, Jeff, can we do this call? I didn't even say why. I was like, can we do it later? So secretly that is why I love that. So I am taking advantage of the vacation spot because the tide is low. I could walk the whole beach. I went for a swim in the ocean, got my salt, my sun. And now I am here working and we'll work the day looking at the beautiful view. And it can be hard. What I will say is sometimes it's harder to like when you're inside working and looking out at everyone else like at the beach or like living, sitting in a hot tub at the pool and you're like, I want to do that, but like I'm here, I'm working. But it does get easier when you're somewhere for a long, so I'm here for probably 2 months or so. So I don't feel, if I was only here for 5 days, I'd be like, I want to get out and enjoy every second, every minute. Like I need to soak up every ounce of sun because I'm going back to winter and I like must get the ocean because I'm not going to see it again for 6 more months. But it's really different when I'm here for 2 months and I'm like, okay, if I'm working and I miss, going in the ocean today, like I'll go in tomorrow morning or I'll watch sunset tomorrow. And so when you have every day, you don't have to soak up every single minute. And for me, it's about finding the balance of like, how do I take advantage of this, which is like getting up early and swimming in the ocean before my calls, or maybe I start working early in the morning and then I can enjoy 3 p.m. laying by the pool because I'm already done for work for the day. So it's just sort of like figuring out what schedule works for you. And I think that the discipline is just saying, like, it's okay not to soak up every second of this vacation feeling. Like, it's okay to sit inside and just like feel good that after work I can do this. Or on the weekends, I'm still in these spots and take advantage of it. So does that, I don't know if that answered it, Jeff,
Yeah.
but I'd
Yeah,
love
that
your
answers
thoughts
it
on
very
it too.
well. Yeah, my thoughts are constantly evolving around this type of thing. Especially, I just read a book called The Pathless
Oh, yeah. I
Path.
want to read it. You
Paul
mentioned that.
Paul Millard. Yeah, honestly, it's gonna sound like your own subconscious written in text, and your journey definitely sounded like mine. He initially came up in the business world, was going to be a McKinsey consultant coming out of college, and then immediately started questioning, is this how we're supposed to live life? Is the goal of life to achieve and attain stuff until a point where somebody says it's okay to go and start living now, if you are able to get to that point? And he started thinking, well, what about, how you spend your time? If it's not all about earning and achieving, is it more about how you spend your time? Are those 40 hours arbitrary? Are the times that you're working, are those also arbitrary? Can these be very flexible? And I've thought about that quite a bit, and I think I'm getting more and more tuned into that way of thinking since, starting with Beach Commute, not working for a company that has structured work hours anymore. And I think I'm getting pretty good at it. I'm getting pretty good at listening to my body and my mind and not sticking to these arbitrary hours. It could be I didn't sleep well that day, and normally I would just sit there and force myself to work out of
Yeah.
guilt and not get anything done. Even if my brain's not working, even if I'm not effective or creative or creating good stuff, I'll just sit there because I will feel more guilty if I don't sit there and do nothing and stare at a computer screen and be ineffective. Now it's more like, okay, I'm going to be more effective if I go take 4 hours and go walk along the ocean, get my feet wet, maybe play some sports or something like that. And I'll make that all up and then some later if I'm able to take that time out for myself. So that kind of applies to the vacation place too. Obviously, you're going to need some sort of discipline. You're not going to get anything done. I think it's good to have certain hours, rough hours that you like to put your head down and work, but also, listening to your body and saying like, hey, look, I've busted my ass the last 4 days in a row. I might take off a few hours or even a day and just go and enjoy where I'm at. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of why we're doing what we're doing. Otherwise, we would just work from home. This would be remote
Mm.
work podcast and not a work from anywhere
Yeah.
podcast. Right. So I think it's really important to kind of get that right.
I love that. To add to that, and by the way, I sent an email this morning. I was like, yeah, this morning to our email list. So if you're not on our email list, by the way, go to beachcommute.com/email and sign up because you'll get personal updates, photos, job alerts, job listings, all sorts of really useful stuff if you're looking for a remote job or just kind of like wanting to transition to this life. They just sent an email out this morning saying exactly that. So yesterday I was working and I had a bunch of friends who were here who just left. And I was like, all right, heads down. I'm going to get so much stuff done today. And it was just like this, I don't know, whatever the reason. I actually did a bunch of work in the morning and then 2 p.m. came and I was just like, I can't think anymore. My brain is tired.
Mhm.
My brain is useless. And if I was back in Atlanta or just home, I might go like sit on the couch for 10 minutes or like, I don't know, lie in bed for a minute or I don't know, like go sit outside, but I'm like in the city, like on a road. And I was just like, oh my God. Like I never think about it this way because I try to be like, okay, I'm working. I'm just going to get stuff done at the end of the day. Then I'll enjoy whatever. And it was kind of like we're still trading ourselves even like all these years later. And I had to be like, Marissa, it's okay to go, like, you can go swim in the ocean for 30 minutes. Like, no one's stopping you. Like, even being your own boss, I still feel that way. And I knew I was sitting
Mhm.
there, like, still feeling guilty. Like, no, I'm just going to keep grinding, keep going through. But my brain was like not working. And so I went and I walked outside. I'm right by the ocean. I went and just like swam in the ocean for a little bit. I like laid in the sand, like took a little bitty nap. And I came back and I got a lot more work done. And it was so much more productive than I would have been had I not. So I love that, Jeff, because you're reminding me that part of it is kind of putting your head down and being, okay, I have discipline. I'm not working. I can work and not enjoy this place for some moments. But part of it is also saying, I came here to enjoy this and I can actually work better. Or, maybe I'll get done in 30 minutes. What I was trying to do would have taken me 4 hours had I not gone and swam and just like refreshed myself and come back. So kind of a mix of both. But I know when a lot of, us included, when nomads first start, you're just like, it feels like vacation. You're like, I must soak in every moment and every
Mhm.
spot and do every touristy thing, go to every restaurant. And I would say just over time, you realize like, it's okay if you don't. Like you're trying to find a balance of enjoying the things that you really want to experience and be and see in a place, but also like chilling out and working some and realizing this is a marathon, not a sprint. And you get to see a lot of the world and
Mhm.
you don't have to do it vacation style where you have to fit 35 things into 2 days.
That's good. Also, yeah, maybe check out that book if you feel like you're always grinding at work and just that's your number one obligation to live. It's, I think, important thing for people to start to deprogram some
Yeah.
of the things that we've been taught in the West and in what success in life actually
I'm
means.
excited. I'm really excited. I never somehow heard of that, but it's important. I feel like for us here at Beach Commute, even just hearing Jeff and I talk, right, where I'm like, I pushed this call back because I wanted to swim, and he's like, great, like he supports that. Or if he's somewhere where he's like, look, I'm in Cape Town. I got this. I remember you had this like cool opportunity to hike what's called the Whale Trail, and you're like, I'm going to be 4 days
Oh,
off.
once in a
I'm gonna
lifetime.
go hike
Yeah.
from hut to hut in Cape Town. I was like, fantastic. Like, go do that. So I think also finding a company that supports your work-life balance and it's not just like I
Uh-huh.
remember when I used to work for like a big corporation, had a boss when I would be like, is it like twice a year, right? Where I was like, is it okay? Like I have set vacation days. And when I would ask for permission, I always felt guilty. They were like, oh, I guess it's gonna be fine 2 months from now if you take, I don't know, but like that should like I felt like what? And just to
Yeah.
find companies who care about you and your well-being, and like when people are working with us, if they're like, I'm gonna be gone for the next, 5 days, do this cool adventure, I'm not like, "Ugh, how dare you?" I'm like, hell yeah. Like, can't wait to hear about it. And like, how do we
Yeah.
prepare so
Write
that you
about it.
can go do that? Like, give me all the things,
Well,
that I'll need from you beforehand. Fantastic. Now, like, go live. And it's so important. So I think
uh-huh.
also like all the companies that we have on the Anywhere Atlas that are also rated are like those higher rated companies are the ones that are like really tout that on their website that are like, live, be like, go explore life. That's the point of it, not like shaming you for enjoying life.
Well, we went off on one there. That's a good one. Actually, honestly, I do feel like this is a podcast topic we should talk about, this deep programming.
I would love to do that one. We make a note to do that next time.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put it down right
I
now.
feel
We
like I
should
need
have
to read
that.
that book. I'm gonna speed read it
Yeah.
before we do.
Yeah, it's like 170 pages. You can burn right through
I
it.
love this. Yeah, this topic is very, yeah, I feel like Jeff and I are both very passionate about this
Mhm.
topic and it's changed for like, and we're both, I feel like I'm still severely deprogramming all these years later.
Same,
So it's
same.
a deeply
It's deep in
ingrained. Okay. Last question. Am I asking you or are you asking me?
the you to me.
Okay. Well, I really like this question. I actually have no idea what you're going to say. What's the weirdest or most memorable place that you have taken a work call from? So not like working on your computer, because I've had some weird ones, but like actually on a work call. What's the weirdest place you've been? This is such a fun question to me.
Well, the obvious one is the bathroom, but I think that's not the spirit of the question. I think it's like, boy, let me think. The weirdest place. I don't think I've taken any calls
Or
from.
like the most, imagine like maybe like a pinch me moment place, or like how am I taking a call from here? Or just like a bizarre, cool travel
Oh,
location, like
yeah.
something like that. That's what I think of.
I guess just working from a bench like on the beach was just like a little shady area, like right in front of the beach. Wi-Fi was terrible, and I remember then I was new to being a digital nomad, and I was just kind of feeling it out and making sure I didn't get in trouble. So I would put up the fake background, which ironically was like the tropical background, which was blocking my tropical background because I didn't want anybody to think that I was on vacation and I was actually working. But I mean, by all rights, it looked like I was in a tropical, beautiful resort, which I was on vacation. So I don't think that's very weird. I think pretty much every digital nomad has a story of working from a bench overlooking a beach,
Mhm.
but I can't think of anywhere weird. Do you have one in mind? Maybe it'll spark something in me.
Well, mine was a similar one. It wasn't weird, but it was like most memorable
Uh,
because I just remember sitting here being like, how is this possible? For me, I was in Egypt and I went to this little beach town. It was maybe like a 2.5, 3 hour drive outside of Cairo in a town called I might be mispronouncing this. Hussein, you'll know better than this, but it's Ain Sokna. So it's AIN, and then the second word is SOKHNA. So do a little Google search. It's beautiful. You're like overlooking the Red Sea. And I remember this is back when I was career coaching and I had just like, a normal weekly call that I had with someone. And I was just sitting out on this beach looking, and I feel like it wasn't like so hot. I don't know. I could like be, and I just remember being on the phone and there was either I had cell service or Wi-Fi out on this beach. I can't remember, but I just remember thinking to myself, it was like more new into my nomad journey. And I was just like, how am I taking it? It just felt like I was like cheating. I was like, this person, not that he would have cared, but I was like, this person thinks I could be sitting on at home in Atlanta. If I had, I don't know, maybe I told him, I can't remember, but I just remember being like, this is the craziest thing to me. I'm just sitting on this beach in Egypt, looking out at the Red Sea at this like resort, and I'm getting paid. Like I'm taking a work call from here. Like it just blew my mind. I don't know. There was something about that particular one that was very memorable. Just feeling like, how is this life possible? Like how, because I think a lot of other calls, I've worked in Bali and Cambodia and Myanmar and all these places. I mean, yeah, there's tons of work calls I've taken, but for some reason that like, I guess I'm usually like in a hotel or in cafes or in an Airbnb, but there was something about, I think it was probably because I had Wi-Fi out at this resort and I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, I don't know. So that one was really, really memorable for me. And since then, I mean, I've taken a zillion calls like in all sorts of places. And I don't know if the bathroom
Yeah.
one you were mentioning, maybe I would say the weirdest one was probably in Romania. Jeff came over. We were both in Romania at the same time. And normally we always record these podcasts like from our computer, separately. So our mics are better, but we didn't have microphones that like wouldn't pick up each other's sound if we weren't in different rooms. So there was someone working in the bedroom. Jeff was in my living room and I went into the bathroom to record so that our mics weren't like echoing sound. That was probably the weirdest one, the Romanian bathroom podcast call. That was a special one.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's also remote workers had bathroom call stories.
Is that a thing?
I mean,
I feel like that's the only one I've
never.
done.
Oh yeah, I've taken a lot of calls in
Who
the bathroom. I
knew?
mean, sometimes the timing doesn't work out so well, and you gotta see it from the bathroom. Plenty of bars, like bars I've taken
Mm.
calls from. You really gotta block the background and the noise on that one. It's kind of tricky. But I wish I had something like top of a volcano type of story, but I just
I know.
doubt.
I feel like I've done work in a lot of weird, like I've like whipped out my computer and like do
Mhm.
work in weird places. But the call, yeah, the Egypt beach was that for me.
Okay, that's it.
We have made it through. So yeah,
We
I
made it.
hope
Yeah,
that,
that's an hour.
yeah, hopefully I love these episodes. Let us know if you like them as well, because I feel like you just get lots of different types of information about different topics. That's hopefully very relevant to you if you are starting this journey or on this journey or wanting to begin this journey. And if you don't yet have a remote job that lets you travel and work from a beach in Egypt or Mexico or a Romanian bathroom, wherever you want to be, check out beachcommute.com/email. Make sure to hop on our email list because we send out tons of job listings and tips and resources to help you find and get remote jobs so you can have the freedom to live like this, and you'll get notifications about new podcast episodes as well. So anything else, Jeff, before we hop off?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week.